Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurkan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter World. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the Longsword. As with all of my weapon videos, this is intended to provide you guys with some notions as to how this weapon works, show you a couple of interesting moves, and naturally give you a reason as to why you should use this weapon over any other weapon in the game. And when it comes to the Longsword, how would you like to be? A katana-wielding samurai slicing and dicing through your enemies in style, because the moveset of the Longsword is not only one of the deadliest in the game, it is also one of the most stylish ones available in the game. So slice and dice in style is the name of the game when you pick up the Longsword. Now, let's have a look at some of the basics, shall we? So this right here is the Longsword, and I know some of you guys are going to cry foul. Rurkan, that's not really a katana, that's more like a Nadachi or something. And yes, you are correct, I'm not a Japanese weapons expert, but this is as close as you're going to be getting to wielding a katana in Monster Hunter World, so I figured I'd throw that particular word out there. Anyway, moving onwards. If you look to the top left-hand side, you will notice that we now have a weapon gauge. That weapon gauge is your spirit gauge, which is used to power two of your more powerful attacks, which are the Spirit Blade and the Spirit Thrust. Let's go over the more basic combo that we have in Triangle, which is essentially just spam Triangle. This right here is a 4-attack combo, and when you perform this particular 4-attack combo, it is going to fill up your weapon gauge, or your spirit gauge, sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5. It is an infinite combo, as you guys can see right there. Like I said, it is 4 hits and then it repeats, so 1, 2, 3, 4, repeat. And 5 hits will completely fill up your gauge, at which point you can go into Spirit Blade by spamming R2. Now notice what happens to your weapon gauge when you do this. Notice the red is depleting, and at the end of it, you now have a white glow on your weapon gauge. Okay, this now means you've reached the first tier of Longsword buffed damage. So now your sword just straight up deals more damage while that particular gauge is glowing white, which is pretty good. So naturally, you would want to do that again, right? You want to go ahead and do your combo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gauge is full. Now let's go ahead and do Spirit Blade. Make sure to land that last hit. Last hit is the most important, as it is the last hit of the Spirit Blade combo that actually levels up your sword. So basically, if you miss every other Spirit Blade attack, you will still be able to level up your sword so long as you land the last one. Naturally, you want to hit as many of your Spirit Blade attacks as possible because it will deal more damage. But anyway, if you notice, we now went from white to yellow. You are now on the second tier of the Longsword buff damage. You can go all the way to tier 3, which is red, so let's go ahead and do that. However, this time, instead of doing 5 hits of the combo to completely fill up the gauge, let's do only 4 and instantly chain it into the Spirit Blade and see how that works out, okay? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, spamming Spirit Gauge. And look at that, you actually only need 4 hits to go into Spirit Gauge and get a full weapon gauge upgrade. So that is something to keep in mind. Just bear in mind also that once you hit with your weapon a couple of times, if you move away, if you have to move away because monster's in rage and monster's doing stuff, the red portion of your weapon gauge will also slowly diminish over time. So if you perform 4 hits, go away for a while, then come back and start spamming Spirit Blade, and you're like, oh, Rurkan told me 4 hits was enough, and I wasn't able to do it. It's because that gauge decays over time, just like the glow around your weapon gauge is decaying over time as well. But anyway, we've now reached tier 3, so you guys are like, okay, so how would I go about dealing damage? Well, you go and you spam your combo, then you go in for some more Spirit Blade action, and you can keep it in the red tier of damage as long as you could possibly want. So now you guys are thinking, okay, so the most optimum way of actually dishing out damage is to go ahead and spamming Triangle, then spamming your Spirit Blade combo, repeating this until you get to tier 3 or red tier, at which point we're going to just fill it up and do more Spirit Blade combos, right? Wrong. That would be way too simple. Like, would that really be fun for you guys? Just like, oh, I'm going to press triangle a couple of times, and then I'm going to press R2 a couple of times, and that's all of my rotation. That would just not really be that interesting. So that's why they've added an additional move, which is called the Spirit Thrust. Now that move is done by essentially in the middle of any combo or any attack that you happen to be doing, you're going to press R2 plus triangle. So say for instance, we're doing a thrust, then we go R2 triangle, Spirit Thrust. So if you actually connect with that attack, it is going to propel you upwards. Now, a couple of interesting tidbits about this particular attack is once you use this attack, if you actually land it, you will essentially be losing out on one weapon gauge. So what does that mean? If you are currently in your red tier and you use this, I'm gonna try to miss this attack on purpose. Notice that we are now on the yellow tier. So essentially, every time you do that attack, you're going to downgrade your current gauge. So if you're on yellow, you're going to go back to white. If you're on red, you go back to yellow. And if you're on white, you go back to nothing. And if you're on nothing, you actually can't do this attack properly. Like, sure, the animation will play out, but it will not propel you upwards. So you always need to have at least one level of spirit gauge in order to perform the Spirit Thrust. Now you guys are like, but why does that matter? Like, that didn't even do anything. Yes, because I missed on purpose just to exemplify that you go back down to another gauge. So now let's actually fill up our gauge again and go into red. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into spirit gauge. You can adjust the direction of the spirit gauge's attacks in between combos, so keep that in mind in case your target moves. You can adjust to accommodate wherever your target has gone to, unless the target runs away, of course. But now we're back on red, so now let's actually land the Spirit Thrust appropriately. So Spirit Thrust propels you upwards. When you are in the air, you're going to have to aim towards your target and press triangle. Let's go ahead and try to do that, and let's try not to fail so that I don't insult myself. So, Spirit Thrust, aiming towards the pole. Wow, isn't that cool? Oh, and what's happening to our spirit gauge? It's filling up by itself. Yes, because once you land that last hit, which is called the Spirit Helm Breaker, you essentially get a regenerating spirit gauge, which allows you to instantly go into Spirit Blade again and charge it all the way up into red. So, ideally, let's say if your target is stationary and all you want to do is damage, your best course of action is going to be level yourself up until you get to the red damage tier. And once you get to red damage tier, try to get a Spirit Thrust off so that you can get the benefits of the Helm Splitter. Or actually Helm Breaker, sorry about that. And then once you get the Helm Breaker off, you're going to start getting that sweet regen. Usually I go for one more hit to ensure that I'm going to have enough gauge. And then boom, charge it back up to red, and then go back and repeat as often as you possibly can. So a couple of things to keep in mind about the Helm Breaker is that I was actually testing it out earlier because despite the fact that it is a jumping attack, because your character physically goes up in the air, you might think, oh, that's mounting damage. Actually, it's not. At least I fought a monster for a good long while, and I did not mount him once. I didn't attempt to mount him by any regular means. I only used Spirit Helm Breaker, and I didn't get a single mount, so I'm pretty sure Spirit Helm Breaker is not going to be is not dealing mounting damage. So if you want to mount, you have to manually do it by other means, by using your aerial game, but that is the bread and butter when it comes to the damage. Okay, what other tools do you have as a longsword user? So you also have this thing called a Fade Slash. So usually you can dodge on any weapon by pressing X and off to the side. You can also do this with the longsword, and it's fairly fast. However, there is a different way of dodging. So say you're in the middle of your combo and you want to dodge away, you can press triangle circle and perform a Fade Slash in whichever direction you want. So right there I did one to the right. You can also do one to your back if you just not put any inputs whatsoever. Your character will dodge backwards, or you can dodge to the left by inputting, actually I didn't do that right, by inputting left on the analog stick and then pressing triangle and circle. Basically this allows you to dodge in any direction. Just remember you need to be in the middle of a combo, because if you just press it, it usually will just dodge backwards. But if you're in the middle of a combo and then you press left or right, you can move yourself in that direction. The advantage of this is that you will perform an attack, which will deal damage, and it also gives you quite a few invincibility frames. So it's something that's going to require a lot of practice, because if you've been playing other weapons, you're probably used to going like, oh, something bad's about to happen. Ugh. And you can do that as well, but like usually with the longsword, you will get more benefit if you learn how to master the Foresight Slash and go like that instead, and it's an extra attack on the monster. So keep that in mind. This is one of your evades. Now, another one of your evades, which is one of the new things that you can do, is the Foresight Slash. Now, the Foresight Slash is quite a bit more challenging to perform, but in my opinion, the Foresight Slash is what is going to be distinguishing the best longsword users from people like me, which I'm not a tremendously amazing longsword user. Like, I can do the basic combo, I can tell you guys how to work with the longsword, but I really struggle to land the Foresight Slash because it's going to require quite a bit of practice as well as knowledge of your targets. So anyway, how do you perform the Foresight Slash? In the middle of your combo, you're going to press R2 and circle. And you're going to do that. So that's like a different version of the Foresight Slash, right? You do the Foresight Slash, your character goes back a little bit, does that. You do the Foresight Slash, your character moves all the way back and attacks. Now, the advantage of doing the Foresight Slash is that if you actually manage to properly dodge an attack, you'll notice your character glows blue and instantly counterattacks. Now, the blue glow is particularly important to when this happens, because if you notice, if your character does not glow blue after that particular attack, so let's say like this, it means you actually didn't dodge an attack. And this is a very important distinction for the Foresight Slash, because in order to get full benefit of the Foresight Slash, you need to have actually dodged an attack in order to capitalize on the remaining of this particular move. Like so. Because that instant counterattack, if you actually land that on a target, you can then follow up with another R2 press, and after that, you will basically jump one level in Spirit Gauge. So even if you have nothing in your gauge like we have right now, you would basically go to nothing to white charge on your Spirit Gauge. So as you can imagine, that's pretty advantageous and something that is important to keep in mind for the Foresight Slash, because like I said, this is going to be very challenging for some of you new users to pick up on. Some people that are more experienced might be able to do it just fine. I personally still struggle quite a bit with it. But if you manage to do that, you can pull that off during roars. You can pull that off during just about any attack, except attacks that hit you multiple times, like say a Baroth charge or a Diablo's charge, something of that nature. That will probably still hit you, and it will probably still really hurt. But if you're successfully pull it off, you will get a charge which is going to be way faster than doing this. And that is going to be the difference between the good longsword users and the people who are just starting out, because those people will be able to reach the maximum tier of Spirit Gauge faster than anybody else, and they will be able to counterattack the monster in between every attack, whereas regular longsword users that are still mastering the weapon are going to go like, oh, I need to dodge. You know, the people who are more experienced are going to go like, okay, attack incoming, Foresight Slash, boom, and then straight into Spirit Blade, because they will be able to finish the combo off with a Spirit Blade. But yeah, that is the Foresight Slash, and like I said, that right there, the difference between the excellent longsword users and people who just use a longsword. Now, let's take a look at the aerial game of the longsword, shall we? So, let's start with sliding, as usual. You go down the sliding, you can do a jumping slash and then a jumping slash down. So it's nothing too special. We've all seen this particular move in most other weapons, so it's not particularly fancy. Now, where the longsword gets fancy is that it enables you to do what is called a, what's the name of this? Aerial Draw Spirit Blade. Now, the importance of that particular move is because, like the Foresight Slash, it enables you to essentially skip 1 level in the spirit gauge if you manage to land it. I'm going to try and land it on this barrel over here. So see right there, we went from white to yellow when we had 0 gauge. That is because you land that move and you follow it up with a Spirit Round Slash immediately afterwards by pressing R2, and that will just straight up skip 1 level. You just have to actually hit something, which I was actually lucky enough to hit. I thought I was going to actually miss it. And you do it again, you can do it again, and we now just skipped yet another gauge into red. So keep this in mind. This particular attack, super useful. If you happen to find yourself a nice little sliding setup, you're going to be able to constantly skip through spirit gauges, assuming you're able to actually land the damn thing. So, keep this one in mind. Now, when you are actually doing the Rising Slash, there is also another option that you have available to you, which is the Jumping Spirit Blade, which will deal a different number of hits depending on the level of charge that you have on it. So this will just deal a bunch of damage. If you want to deal damage to, like, say you have an aerial target or something that is pissing you off, maybe there's a flyer that's hovering just above you, you can go like that and you can dish out some deeps on him. That's going to get him good. It also, I believe, deals mounting damage, so you'll be able to mount. Just like the draw here, this is also mounting damage, so you will be able to mount monsters with that. So if you're concerned like, oh, but that means I have to choose between charging my blade or mounting a monster. No. This right here also deals mounting damage. I've mounted monsters using that specific skill. When it comes to jumping, you have access to just about the same things. You have your Jumping Slash, which is your run-of-the-mill slash, and you have access to the aerial Jumping Spirit Blade. Now, like I said, this particular attack varies depending on the tier that you have on your spirit gauge. So right now, we've actually just downgraded into yellow tier. And if you notice, previously we were doing a 3-attack combo. We do it now. It only does 2 attacks. If you go back to white, it only does 1. And as you can imagine, if you have nothing, it will still just do 1 regular attack. It's not going to be anything spectacular. Now, with the Longsword, very much like with the Greatsword, I didn't found any moves that would allow you to climb up the mushrooms. I've tried Step Slash, Overhead Slash, Thrusts, Rising Slash, Fade Slash, Foresight Slash, everything that I could think of. So if you want to capitalize on mushrooms, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Put your blade away, then attack. You can do the Jumping Slash off of the mushrooms, and you can also do the Aerial Spirit Blade or Jumping Spirit Blade. So, these are your options when it comes to aerial combos. Like I said, the most useful thing is that whole sliding into a Spirit Blade, because that will enable you to straight up skip a level, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Another cool thing about the Longsword is that pretty much every move can be interweaved between itself. So, say for instance, you're going for a regular combo, and now you're like, okay, Fade Slash. You can Fade Slash anywhere in the middle of that combo, or maybe you're in the middle of a combo and you're about to go into, for instance, going into your Spirit Blade combo, but the monster is about to hit you, so you need to perform a Fade Slash. Well, you can actually be in the middle of your combo, Fade Slash into Spirit Blade. It actually has a cool little animation just for that combo. Or, let's say you're in the middle even of your Spirit Blade combo. Let's actually get a little bit fancy here. Let me just sharpen up to make sure that we achieve maximum results. Let's say you're in the middle of your combo. You're about to go into your Spirit Blade, but you realize that you want to actually go into the Spirit Helm Breaker. So what you're going to do is you're going to go like this, and you're going to go Fade Slash into Spirit Blade, into Spirit Thrust, into Helm Splitter. So you can basically chain tons of different things together with the Longsword. So even though some of its combos may feel deceptively simple, you still have quite a bit of complexity with this weapon, both with the Fade Slashes as well as naturally with the Foresight Slash that is going to require quite a bit of practice to actually master. But you're going to feel like a complete boss of a samurai when you manage to pull it off against monsters. And I say when because I have full belief that my Iron Breakers that want to truly master the Longsword will be running around Foresight Slashing just about everything and being a good example to the community. Am I right, Iron Breakers? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video on the Longsword. Like I said, in my opinion, Foresight Slash is a big aspect of the weapon. It is going to be what is truly going to separate the best longsword users from everybody else. It does not mean that you cannot play with a longsword without knowing how to use Foresight Slash. What it does mean is that, in my opinion, it is something that you should strive to master in the long run, because it is going to make quite a bit of a difference. That, as well as the sliding down combo that I told you guys about, how you can also skip gauges. Anything that you can skip gauges in your spirit gauge to get to tier 3 faster is going to be something that you're going to be wanting to experiment with and really get the full potential out of the longsword by getting to that red color as fast as you possibly can, and then just smashing monsters down with Helm Breaker. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.